y'all. I'm Dr. K. Wise Whitehead. I'm excited to serve as your MC of this pre-show for tonight's virtual rally. I have to say first that I can chair dance with the best of them. If nothing else, we have the best music doing our homeroom. Now, we've created this segment so we can be in community with one another in preparation for tomorrow, the big day. We wanted to use this time to highlight some of our best moments, Dr. K's favorite mic drops from the Freedom to Learn Coalition. And we want to take a quick step back because the coordinating attacks on history and knowledge last year fueled the urgency for us to hold our National Day of Action. I pulled this clip out that highlights the activations we held last year on May 3rd, 2023. Let's take a look at it.
It's May 3rd. It's just after 9 a.m. here in New York in our Freedom to Learn headquarters. The Freedom to Learn Day of Action is a moment when some of the most powerful civil rights organizations in history, a coalition of incredible grassroots organizations, and all of us are coming together to send a clear message to the country. Our history, our present, and our future are deeply interconnected.
The young people are standing up and saying, no, we believe in real democracy. How are they going to operate in America, in a multiracial America, if you don't allow them to have the tools to understand each other?
Florida education is in a state of crisis. There's such a sense of hopelessness where you feel like, I'm not going to waste my time on that advocacy stuff because no matter what we say or do, the system's going to do what the system's going to do.
Everybody always gets tense and quiet when you just say something that's racist and you're trying to erase Black people.
When they use the term parental rights, I need you to ask the question, which parents?
This is people's territory.
Here in Florida, the governor is focusing on these cultural wars for political points. So we're here occupying his office saying enough is enough.
Hey, DC, there they are, there they are.
We are fired up and ready to go in DC.
You have this desire of parents to mold and sculpt their kids in dramatic ways that violates their own capacity to be democratic citizens. Because to be democratic citizens in your own country means to be aware of the history of your country, all of it.
A lot of the arguments coming from the right about, our culture and all these things are absolutely offensive. But we're not saying ban what they say. We say, let them say what they say and let's see what people think. I think they realize the only way they can win this debate is for people not to be exposed to the contradictions that are at the heart of the creation of the American Republic.
Children of these marginalized groups have to experience these things at very young ages. It is no surprise to an Indigenous child that the government might lie. It is no shock to a Black child that the police can be dangerous. It is no shock to a Japanese American kid that the government can use you when it's politically expedient. We know these things. So what we're saying is not only do the children of these marginalized groups have to experience this kind of violence, we are also going to make them do it alone. And I can't think of anything crueler to do to a small child.
We often use this metaphor. If we can have a moonshot for that, why not that? Why not a moonshot for the most democratic institution the United States has ever created, which is a public school? 85% of Americans get their education in a public institution to some degree. And if we can't save that, a lot of other things will just go by the way.
Young people get it. They are on fire. The people whose lives right now are the raw materials of the political weaponization to roll back democracy.
It's a strategy of isolation and demonization, and the way you respond to that is through solidarity and exchange and reciprocity.
We see you,
And it's not just that we see you, we will respond to you and we will challenge you and we will shut this down.
They cannot ban our books, they can't ban our ideas, and they cannot erase us. And today is where we're drawing that line in the sand.
I don't know if you can see the shot below, but you see the crowd that's forming here at the College Board.
When it comes to equity, justice, and liberation, there is no such thing as neutrality.
Many years ago, our Black ancestors gained their right of freedom. And now in 2023, young Black and brown children are being stripped of the knowledge to learn.
What is the freedom that we are going to go to the mat to defend? It is the freedom to learn. It is that thing that they didn't want us to have when we were enslaved.
And our children cannot have a lopsided history. They will end up with a lopsided mentality.
That's right. That's right.
How do you produce Ron DeSantis? By giving him lopsided history.
Right.
When students' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Rise up, fight back!
When students' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Rise up, fight back!
When students' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Rise up, fight back!
When students' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Rise up, fight back!
What do we do?
Rise up, fight back!
What do we do?
Rise up, fight
I
back!
can't hear you. What do we do?
Rise up, fight back!
What do we do? Rise up, fight back. Now that's how you hold people accountable. Folks, we lit the F2L flame at 9 a.m. in New York, and it got carried across the country. We answered that question set forth by Professor Crenshaw. What is the freedom that we're going to go to the mat to defend? It was then, and it is now, the freedom to learn. This is why we need as many individual activations as possible tomorrow. We need you not only to do something, but you've got to tell the world that you did it. So, like, if a tree falls in the forest, if there's no picture and there's no tweet, then I don't believe it made a sound. I need you to do something and make sure it makes a sound. We're going to sprinkle suggestions throughout about what to do and how to tell us that you did it, because it's not about one march or one state. It's about all of us everywhere. Now, I want to connect last year's activations with this year's programming as we launch Freedom Summer 2024. For the past 5 weeks, and many of you have been here, AAPF has hosted weekly convenings to inform, inspire, educate, and activate. Each week, you've been telling us how much you value this opportunity to come together, to share, to commit to fighting back, to be in community. Using the chat, can you tell us some of your favorite mic drop moments that have been happening over the past few weeks? What has stood out to you? Now, while you're thinking of some, I'm going to share some of mine. The first one features Professor Kimberly Crenshaw underscoring the importance of continuing this work in our current climate and why Black people in particular have always understood the threat for what it is. Professor Crenshaw?
You know, it was Langston Hughes, the great African-American poet, who said, "We in America did not have to be told what fascism is in action. We know its theories of Nordic supremacy and economic suppression have long been realities to us." Now, these are the histories that tell us what we need to know to organize ourselves against all these efforts to take us back, to effectuate a massive U-turn in our efforts to create and maintain a real multiracial democracy. And it is precisely these histories that the anti-woke faction wants to steal from us and from our children. If there's one thing that holds us all together as we fight for our future, it is that there's no saving our democracy without saving our commitment to anti-racism. The two are conditions of each other's possibility. So the work we do leading into May 3rd and to Freedom Summer is to make these connections abundantly clear. Anti-wokeness is the Trojan horse containing the armaments that seek to destroy the rights that are fundamental to our very existence. We have to know the enemy in order to fight it. So today we have an exciting roster of guests who will help us make sense of these coordinated attacks and help us strategize to resist.
Help us to strategize, help us to resist, help us to fight for the freedom to learn. As we go into tomorrow's National Day of Action to launch Freedom Summer 2024, we must foreground our commitment to anti-racism in order to secure the future of our multiracial democracy. That's why we were so excited to welcome Judy Richardson, an organizer of Freedom Summer 1964, who made it clear to all of us how education and multiracial democracy are tied together.
Only Black person in my AP 10th grade history class. And the only, we had one small chapter on Reconstruction, and the only illustration in that little small section was directly from the Klansman, on which Birth of a Nation was based.
Oh my
and it was a little line drawing. It had what was supposed to be a Black state legislator with his feet up on his bare feet up on the desk of the state legislature. So I didn't get anything, nor did my white classmates. And that's very important. It's not just I who am being targeted. It's the white kids. And so none of us are getting any sense of Reconstruction. We don't get that, they're mandating free public education, not just for the formerly enslaved, but for the poor whites who had been denied it. I'm not getting anything about the all Black communities of the formerly enslaved that are doing banks and schools and businesses, that they are self-sufficient. So in freedom schools, we always taught about Black organizing and resistance and Black resilience as well. And that's why you see this wonderful freedom primer. And that's what we produced in SNCC. And as a matter of fact, I helped distribute it. SCLC, Dr. King's organization, had begun to use it in their citizenship schools, but we did it because what we were showing was that we were providing both truthful and empowering education that would allow young Black Mississippians to know that they could change the oppression that they were living under. And of course, there were already Black leaders who had been talking a long time about this, like Medgar Evers and Amzie Moore, and of course, my one, Ella Baker, who is behind me. And they had long been preaching that kind of gospel at the grassroots. But we're always focusing on what is, not on what is, but always on what should and can be.
Sister Richardson's experience is a stark reminder that the work that the Daughters of the Confederacy did back then is not limited to the past or to even one region. The effort is fully present today. Just look at Moms Rising and Project 2025. This is why we're taking inspiration from all of that into our launch of Freedom Summer 2024. Now, I want to take you to another one of my favorite mic drop moments, where Nancy McLean, a professor of history and public policy at Duke University, she uplifted the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025.
The Heritage Foundation today is the 800-pound gorilla on the right. It has an annual budget of over $100 million, has a huge multi-story office in Washington, D.C. It is one of the main agenda-setting organizations on the right, if not the dominant one. So it's not surprising that it took the lead in creating Project 2025. But what people need to know is that unlike some of the other groups on the right, Heritage from the very beginning blended the toxic cocktail that today's right is gulping in large doses, a combination of plutocratic economics, Christian nationalism, and the weaponization of racism, gender anxiety, and parental fears about sex to achieve its goals.
This is a reminder that we need to keep our eyes on what they are doing and what they're weaponizing in order to achieve their goals. We have to understand the full extent of this coordinated conservative campaign because it is quickly gaining traction. This is why you need to get activated tomorrow. You got to focus on doing something. Take a picture holding up a banned book, post it on X or IG, use hashtag freedom to learn. You have to add your voices with ours so we can show that we are the majority. Now, I know my time is getting short. I only have another minute or so, but I gotta show you one of my favorites, Tim Wise. Here he highlights the true motivation behind attempts to scapegoat CRT, DEI, and anti-racism, or as I call it, why we should resist 101.
So you have a Boeing jet that loses an emergency exit door in the middle of the flight. Now you might think to yourself, what does that have to do with DEI? Nothing, of course, but it must be because Boeing has a DEI program to try to bring in Black pilots. That makes sense. The right literally said this when that accident happened, because as we all know, Black pilots are the ones who are responsible for installing the doors on the plane when they're not flying them, I guess. Or it gets better, because just last week when the bridge in Baltimore fell down when it was hit by a barge, we were told by people on the right, these same people, that it was because of the DEI mayor. Because I think we all know that, like, if the mayor were white, he would have fortified the bridge with his magical white guy brain power. I mean, we all know that disasters absolutely never happen under white leadership, unless you consider the Great Chicago Fire, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, our entire involvement in Vietnam, 9/11, tornadoes in Oklahoma, or hurricanes in Texas and Florida. But like, other than that, pretty much nothing. Right now, putting the absurdity aside, and I do think it's important to mock these people for their ridiculousness, putting that aside, all of this is calculated to pit us against each other. If the right can get white people thinking that our enemies are Black and brown, then maybe we won't pay attention as they push through more tax cuts for the rich, assault public education, restrict women's reproductive freedom, undo the civil rights gains of the 20th century, along with labor laws, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, environmental regulations, because that's what they're about, and they admit it.
So I think you get my point, right? That's why I had to show that one. That's the hashtag mic drop that we're talking about. Taken together, all of these clips make explicit not only what is at stake, but also what we can fight for instead. A future in which we can all enjoy a multiracial democracy. I want to thank you all for joining our warm-up to our final show in the Road to Freedom to Learn Day of Action. Now, don't go anywhere, but we're just moving from our amazing virtual rally into our program. Y'all, we have an incredible lineup of speakers joining us today, from leaders of some of the major civil rights organizations to elected officials who are here to motivate and inspire us to press on with our exciting activations that we have planned for tomorrow's National Day of Action. Now, before I go to Professor Crenshaw, I got to do a quick commercial, right? So if you haven't done it yet, go and fill out our sign-up sheet that's being dropped in the chat right now, so we are sure we have captured everything that is happening tomorrow. Don't forget to document how you took part in May 3rd. Remember to take photos, videos, even something as simple as taking that selfie that I mentioned with your favorite banned book, and then you have to take the next step. Share it out. If you're on social media, post it using hashtag Freedom to Learn or hashtag Freedom Summer 2024. Our social media toolkit link is also being dropped in the chat. Now, if social media is not for you, you can still participate, because you can email us at info@freedomtolearn.net. That's info@freedomtolearn.net, or call us at our new call-in line, 877-362-2024, 877-362-2024. And last, if you are hosting an event, please don't forget to fill out our post-event form so that we can learn more about your activation, whatever you are doing tomorrow. We want to know about it. Upload your flyers, upload your photos, and if you fill out the form, I'm giving away swag tonight. Yes, last week it was t-shirts. This week, you're going to get our amazing Freedom to Learn tote bag, which is a high demand item. You can get a book too, but it's our Freedom to Learn tote bag. You're going to want to get that. Now, as you listen to each pair of speakers tonight, we're going to be sharing ways you can take action for May 3rd. And I'm going to host office hours again right at the close of the program to answer any questions you may have about the Day of Action and Freedom Summer 2024. Join me there if you are fired up and ready to get going. Okay, that was a lot. But folks, we are pumped up and ready to go. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to join us, and put in the chat right now where you're joining us from. I'm Dr. K. I'm in Baltimore, and tomorrow I'm going to be at the May 3rd National Day of Action rally in DC. Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? Go ahead and put that in the chat right now. I'm now going to toss it over to Professor Kimberly Crenshaw to provide us with some introductory remarks. Kimberly Crenshaw is a professor of law at Columbia University and UCLA. She's also the co-founder and executive director of the African American Policy Forum. Kim, I was going to do it by myself tonight, but I'm thinking I need to hand it over to you now.
Okay, you got the energy to do it all for us. Can you believe that we are finally here?
Yes, I love it. I'm so excited, actually.
I'm so excited too. So look, this is supposed to be a rally. So one of the things that we have to work on in this rally is, what are we going to chant? Right? Because we can provide information, we can provide the inspiration. That's what we've been doing for the last 5 weeks. But you all have got to tell us what's on your heart to say. You've got to tell us what you're going to come and what you're going to throw out there, and what we're going to pick up when we're marching together. So here are some of the themes that we know, right? We won't go back. That is the main message that we're trying to get across. No U-turn. Right? We're not taking a U-turn. We're not going back to that past. We see some of the same stuff that we came out of. Once we start seeing that same kind of landscape, we know that we're going in the wrong direction. So we need some chants that make it plain that we won't go back. And we've been saying we are the majority. We are the majority. We are the majority. So what are we going to say? How are we going to say it? How are we going to make that plain? So if you have some ideas for the chants, if you're a good person with wordsmithing, drop them in there. If we pick up your chant, guess what? One of those tote bags is yours too. So, Kay, here we are on the eve of our launch of Freedom Summer 2024. We're starting it with our Day of Action. Now, one of the things that we want to do and have been doing all this past month, is learning the lessons from our elders who in 1964 faced brutal oppression that was imposed by white supremacists. Now, in response to this repression, and this is what's so true of so many young people, we're seeing it today, these heroic youth, many in their teens, in their early 20s, they were the ones that launched Freedom Summer. They were the ones that set up freedom schools, because they realized that a key condition of our political disempowerment was the intentional miseducation of everyone. Okay, so they taught us the relationship between political power and political literacy. They taught us how the two go together, having a vote and having our voice, having our history, having our knowledge, having our ability to express our desires, our preferences through the ballot. They came together. So in this moment, we want to honor the dozens upon dozens of courageous people like Bob Moses and Heather Booth, Diane Nash, John Lewis, Charlie Cobb, Mario Savio, Unita Blackwell, Judy Richardson, and of course, the great Marian Wright Edelman. They understood the central role of knowledge, and importantly, democratizing access to critical literacy in building a functional and racially just democracy. And they knew that the critical literacy that we need to sustain a democracy can only be achieved in a democracy that protects the freedom of speech and the freedom to learn. So look, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that we're in a moment of white backlash and fears of great replacement. And in this moment, the same voices that are creating this moral panic are the voices that are trying to demonize the legacies that we're trying to hold up in Freedom Summer 2024. And what they're trying to do is replace this rich legacy with a new story, an official story. It's a story that pretends that racism is just a relic of the past. And even when we do tell it as a relic of the past, we don't tell all of it. We don't dwell on it. Their story is a story that portrays all efforts to combat structural racism and inequality as attempts to oppress white people. Their story is one that elevates colorblindness as the antidote to generations of inequality, and that labels racial literacy, the literacy that is our inheritance from the freedom riders, from SNCC, from the Freedom Summer of 1964, all of that racial literacy that we have inherited from that moment, they want to label that as divisive. They want to label that as discriminatory. Now, even as we speak, there are those who are chomping at the bit to federalize all of this replacement of the real story with these myths about the past. And I think, as many of you saw from that clip from Nancy MacLean, Project 2025 is an embodiment of this effort. What would Project 2025 do? Well, it's 900 pages, so it would do everything under the sun to advance an extremist view of who this country really needs to be remade for. But some of the highlights that we're really trying to elevate so people are aware of it is that it would federalize these educational censorship laws that have been passed over the last couple of years in Florida and Texas and other places across the country. It would eliminate the Department of Education, and it would use federal funds to support private Christian schools. Just think about that. They want to dismantle the Department of Education. They would treat any participation by an employee in a critical race theory or a DEI initiative, wait for it, learning about how to make a workforce more equitable would be a fireable offense. Just think about that. Just think about that. This extremism that we're looking at in Project 2025 has been a constant feature of American society. It was defeated momentarily by Reconstruction, and then later it was defeated by the Civil Rights Movement, but it has returned again, and it's returned to the center of American politics. Rather than making America great again, it seems like some of them want to make America hate again. And it's been metastasizing throughout all American education, not just K through 12, but in higher education, and not just public institutions, but private institutions, and not just educational institutions, but educational projects in our companies and in our foundations. This is the U-turn that they are trying to create. This is a U-turn that undermines racial democracy and our nation's future. So sadly, the university is also a site for this. For many of us, this images that we've been seeing over the last couple of days of a militarized college campus has been triggering for those of us who lived through an earlier period of time when 4 unarmed students were killed by the National Guard at Kent State, or 2 other massacres that happened on HBCUs at Jackson State, where police opened fire on peaceful protesters, killing 2, and at South Carolina State University, where 3 were killed and 28 wounded, most shot in the back. Just sit with that for a moment. These protests, these efforts of our young people throughout history to force us to confront those things that we don't want to confront, to force us to make good on the promises of the kind of society that we want to be. These students have often put their lives on the line to create the kind of society that we are now living in. It behooves us to support their legacy, both in terms of supporting the legacy of those of the Freedom Summer 2024, and to support the legacies of students now who are taking it upon themselves to create a better world for all of us. So we have to learn how to fight, not pivot, not run. We know that these are places and frameworks that increase our knowledge of the world that we live in order to better transform it. So these institutions that we're in, higher education and otherwise, we need to ensure that they remain open and remain the transformative places that we need them to be. So now let's move on to our much anticipated, the good, the bad, and of course, we got to talk about the ugly. So first, here's some good news. Actually, it's really great news. So during these homerooms, we've been talking a lot about legislative assaults on free expression. But those of us who believe in the freedom to learn are finally fighting back. This past week, Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed a new bill into law called the Freedom to Read Act. And it sets standards for content in public libraries. Now, the law would make Maryland one of the few states enacting legislation to protect the freedom to learn across the country. Now, this news lets us know that we don't have to roll on our backs. We don't have to act helpless in the face of all of these attacks. We have the power to fight back. And tonight, we'll get a chance to speak to two lawmakers who are doing just that. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin and Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. So now, let's steel ourselves for a little bad news. Since Claudine Gay was pushed to resign as Harvard's first Black president due to a smear campaign from white extremists, the virus has spread to other schools. It's been reported that 7 more officials at prestigious universities have become targets of anonymous accusations of plagiarism and research misconduct. You won't be surprised to know that all of the officials either work in DEI or study race and equity. 6 of them are Black. This obviously coordinated, well-resourced, and racially targeted campaign, all brought to you by the man who created the witch hunt over CRT, are the same tactics that were used to dismantle Reconstruction and remove Black lawmakers and professionals from power. Associating Blackness with incompetence and dishonesty is one of the oldest racist tricks in the book. Equally tried and true is the use of violence to force an anti-inclusion agenda on the rest of us. And we don't have to look too far to see how currently politicians are fanning flames and violent people are taking up the call. Now, the ugly. Did you know that there is a holiday called Confederate Memorial Day? Yeah. So this is designed to honor Confederate soldiers of the American Civil War. Now, in the midst of this so-called panic about woke history and the so-called indoctrination of CRT, I bet you're surprised to know that 4 states still celebrate a treasonous project to break the Union in order to establish a nation built on one foundation, white supremacy. Government employees in Mississippi, though, will get a paid holiday to commemorate these treasonous actors. This is what nostalgia for a past looks like, recalling a history where Black subordination and oppression was the law of the land. Now, with this legislation, the mask about this anti-wokeness has been ripped off. These factions are not concerned about divisive education or the feelings of children. They aren't trying to distance themselves from the Confederacy. What they are trying to do, and when they silence the story of Ruby Bridges, they're trying to purge us out of our own story. And here's the thing, they're not trying to soften the uglier parts of our history. To the contrary, they're trying to embrace the ugliest parts of our history. So this isn't just subject matter discrimination, it's viewpoint imposition. And here is where the true ugliness rests. This is a core feature of a nation falling into, as Jason Stanley writes in his new book, Erasing History, a fascist effort to return to a glorious mythic past. Now, look, if this isn't a cause for extreme alarm, I don't know what is. So if you wanted a sense about the stakes of where we are now, where we find ourselves, this is it. So it's in that spirit that I'm delighted to welcome into our conversation our first two guests. Now, big drum roll, please welcome Dr. David Johns to our program. David Johns is the executive director of the National Black Justice Coalition. They, along with their organizations, have been a key valued partner in the Freedom to Learn Network. I'm also pleased to welcome Reverend Al Sharpton. Reverend Sharpton is the president and founder of the National Action Network. And you all have seen him. You know that he's on the radio several times a week and also hosts his show on MSNBC. Welcome, Reverend Sharpton and Dr. Johns. It's such a pleasure to have you both on our show tonight.
Well, thank you.
To share space. Thank you.
So, David, I'm going to start with you. This is our featured corner for our partners who have lifted this work, who have expanded the scope of it, and have joined us now in our second year together. So, David, last year, our target was the College Board. And we were talking about the ways in which standing up to censorship wasn't something that, the College Board seemed to be willing to do. In fact, they were bowing down to Florida and Ron DeSantis. So I want to start with you just to get your thoughts about how the thing that we were fighting then, basically appeasement, has metastasized since last year. What should we be concerned about when we look at this broadening effort to appease these forces?
Yeah, one, let me say thank you to you, Kim, for your thoughtful and bold and brave leadership. We are where we are now in this movement, and we are continuing to win because you remain undeterred in spite of the challenges that exist. And to your question, one of the challenges that has come up in this work is apathy, or this belief that this was not a fight worth waging. And in saying that, what was often missed is how all of these attacks that feel separate and disparate, whether we think about the proliferation of anti-LGBTQ bills that were introduced over the last legislative cycle, there were more than 600 introduced across the country. There's literally not a state you can go to in our country where an anti-LGBTQ bill hasn't either been introduced or codified. Similarly, many of you know that there are anti-Black bills, either focused on DEI, anti-woke acts, or things specifically naming critical race theory. And when we think about them as piecemeal, censorship over here, queer attacks over here, anti-Black attacks over here, we miss that the threat through them all is white supremacy. And for us at NBJC, while we focused on the College Board and their conspiring with and capitulating to fascist, white ring Republican-controlled legislatures in Florida and elsewhere, so much of this work for NBJC began before February of last year. And what I go back to is thinking in particular about the 2021 Virginia elections and Florida's 2022 legislative session, which explicitly attacked every part of our community in an attempt to undermine democracy. I want to name that in particular, Black queer members of our community have been uniquely targeted by these manufactured culture wars. Again, when we think about a culture war, it makes people forget that there are members of our beautifully diverse community who don't have access to life-saving and affirming care. And that Fannie Lou Hamer taught us that unless and until all of us are free, none of us will be free. And so I'll end with this, which is that NBJC will remain committed to amplifying connections that are often not considered. When people separate fights between racial justice and LGBTQ equality, we will continue to lift up the leadership of queer people, in particular Black queer women, like my colleague Nadine Smith, who leads Florida Equality and is on the front lines against Ronald DeSantis, the failed history teachers' efforts to force us back to the point at which white supremacy was the express law of the land. And we will also keep our foot on the necks of the College Board to ensure that their censorship collusion efforts do not enable us to move further down this fascist rabbit hole. The lessons for everyone here, I think, are one, we are winning. This coalition and us being here in this moment is evidence of that fact. Two, we must work woke and better collaborate to share our inclusive visions for the future and to advance solutions that get us there. And then the third is that we have to hold accountable the members of our community who are scared, fearful, and or are able to lead in this regard. Let's encourage them to step to the side, but we continue to fight to ensure that all of us get free.
So David, you couldn't have said better my retort to one of the things that the College Board had to say about why it was purging intersectionality, you know, from the entire thing. It's like, it is a constant, you know, in my head. Intersectionality is no longer effective and drained of meaning. Well, you just went through an entire framework that shows what intersectionality actually does. What actually is happening is that the College Board and others are allowing the heckler's veto to determine what we get access to, right? The loudest one, not the rightest one. And that's why we've got to push back against appeasement, have our allies stand up with us, have institutions do the right thing, not allow them to simply say, oh, if you're angry or mad or have a lot of money, you get your way. That's not what a democracy is. So on that note, Reverend Sharpton, I want to come to you. You were an amazing partner with us last year. You came to the College Board in New York. You were part of our rally. And one of the things that you said last year was, quote, our children cannot have a lopsided history. They will end up with a lopsided mentality. That's how you produce Ron DeSantis, by giving him a lopsided history. Well, you know, since that moment and since that protest, the issue of Black knowledge and the critiques of it have only grown, with the attacks on Claudine Gay, the attacks on DEI. But here's something else that has emerged, and you've been at the center of it. The central role of the billionaire class in fueling this assault on what is still a tenuous presence on campus. We're still not even close to our percentages in the country on these campuses. So now that you've helped make clear the role of someone like Bill Ackman, what does this allow us to see and do as we target our resistance?
Well, I think that what we must be clear about is that none of us can afford to, even in our own dealings, be setting a stage for bias or silencing or eliminating any of us, whether it is because we're Black or because of our gender or because of LGBTQ. I think that our challenge has been the National Action Network to tell the civil rights community, the church community, and others that we must use this struggle, this fight, to deal with the attempt to eliminate DEI, to eliminate affirmative action, and eliminate the truth about what's going on in American culture. We must do it together, and it should heal us, some of us that are in positions, particularly in the Black community, of our own misogyny and our own homophobia. Because unless all of us are free, as David properly quoted Fannie Lou Hamer, none of us are free. And we cannot have a partial fight for liberation and truth. We must tell the whole truth. They're banning knowledge and eliminating our access to higher education and other economic things because they want to build a white male supremacist society again. That's what Trump means when he says, make America great again. Great to them is white male domination. We must resist it together because if they can divide us, they can win with our division, not with their strength. They're not that strong. We beat them before. We beat them when we stood up and fought to get a Civil Rights Act in 64, a Voting Rights Act in 65, LGBTQ rights, women's right to choose. We cannot be afraid of fighting people that we have beat in the past. We just need to have enough maturity and backbone to go and fight together and stand together unashamedly and unequivocally. And I think that this freedom to learn effort is the engine that we all need to keep charged up and make sure that we don't operate as separate silos, but deal with intersection, because it's the intersection of all of our fighting together that protects all of our interests.
Well, Reverend, we heard from David Johns what NABJ is gearing up to do this summer, and I know that Nan is geared up as well. So in our last minute, can you tell us how you all are moving this summer of Freedom Summer 2024, launching tomorrow, May 3rd, with the Freedom to Learn Day of Action? Tell us a little bit about where we're going to see Nan.
We're going to continue. We are in our 17th week of picketing Bill Ackman, one of the architects of ending DEI, but he's not going to stop there. They've already had states vote to take DEI programs down. We need to continue to fight. We're going to expand during Freedom Summer by rallying and marching and making unlikely allies within our own communities come together and stand together and not be afraid of our own unity and our own standing together boldly, unapologetically, because we believe in freedom and fairness for everyone. As you said, Professor Crenshaw, that we're nowhere near the numbers we ought to be, and we're nowhere near as united as we can be. And National Action Network is going to be on the front line, fighting for both, but fighting together. We cannot have a Black rally or Black move and a separate from the women or separate from LGBTQ. We must stand together. National Action Network is intentional about showing a united front because they're united against all of us.
Kim,
And David, I know you have something, I know you have something planned as well. So tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I know I'm standing in the way of our dear brother, leader Mark Morial, so I'll be brief. But to the good Reverend Al's point, want to invite everyone here to join NBJC during our Equity Weekend activities. I dropped the link in the chat. That will include an activation focused on advocacy on the Hill and the White House on June 12th. On June 13th, we have a Rights and History Expo at Howard University where you can register to vote, get tested for HIV, engage with community organizations, and learn about the history of, and take classes in voguing and other expressions connected to ballroom. On June 14th, we're hosting a ball at the Howard Theater. And then all of this will culminate in a march that will pick up where organizations like the National Action Network host convenings to build on the foundation that Brother Bayard Rustin built. And then that will lead to a rally at Black Lives Matter Plaza, where we will have a number of speakers, including Reverend Al. Thank you for accepting our invitation and for continuing to show up in radically inclusive ways. So again, want to encourage everyone to continue to channel this energy and meet us in DC for our Equity Weekend, June 12th through 15th.
So folks, look, you can never leave this event saying that you don't know what to do. We've got everything for you to do. We've got lots of things for you to do, things that are tailored to your interests, to your time, to your region. The point is to do something. Thank you, Reverend Sharpton, and thank you, David. Thank you so much for your insights and for your leadership. We're looking forward to stepping into the summer locked arm in arm. Now, listen, folks, after each of these conversations, we're just dropping some things, for you to do. So, of course, you can come to the march that we're having tomorrow. You can come to our rally in New York, but you can also do something right now. You can demand accountability by signing the open letter against anti-woke censorship. Over 7,000 people have spoken up against censorship of intersectionality, critical race theory, Black feminism, queer theory, all the frameworks that address structural inequality. So you can sign that and then text us and tell us you signed it. Text us at 855-579-1270. You can also use the Democracy Majority Toolkit in our Freedom to Learn activation guide. You can plan an event to clarify why human rights and democracy advocates are so alarmed about the warning signs for our democracy that are flashing and that are a looming threat. Project 2025. That's all we need to say. Okay, so by now, all of us should be well aware that attacks on racial justice are attacks on our democracy. They are one and the same. At the forefront of addressing this connection have been Mark Morial, the president of the National Urban League, and Melanie Campbell, president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Mark and Melanie, I'm so thrilled
Thank
to
you.
have you on.
Thank
Thank you both. Thank you both. So, Mark, the Urban League was one of the first organizations to recognize the dangers of this backlash, of this attack, this so-called attack on wokeness way back in 2020. But as we all know, it didn't stop there. So I mentioned, just now, Project 2025. It's a wish list of extremist ideas that, would just fundamentally alter the fabric of the country. I know you've been raising the alarm about this. You've been talking about it to people. It might seem esoteric to some people because basically it's just a 900-page report. So what have you found that gains traction when you tell people what's coming and what'll happen if you don't fight?
I want to thank you for putting all your brilliance, intelligence, and organizational passion into standing up an organized effort that we could all rally around in furtherance of the freedom to learn and tell this story. As a high school student, I organized a Black student union in my high school, which was a predominantly white high school, called the Student Organization for Black Achievement. We decided that we were going to ask the school if we could erect a Black History Month exhibit. And we went to the principal of the school and he said, yes, go see the library. We joyously and proudly put together an exhibit, which was really a long table. Some books were in the library. I brought a whole lot of stuff from home, all sorts of posters and things we were very proud of. And as soon as the exhibit was sort of there for everyone to see, it got defaced. We got defaced by white classmates of ours who scribbled KKK all across. They'd gone to these white supremacist lost cause textbooks and copied pages of it and sprinkled it all over our exhibit. And it was a shocking moment for us and an angry moment for us. And so when the effort by the College Board and others, the effort to ban books began, you have these flashback moments in life, these things that occur. And I immediately said, we will, and I will stand up and use whatever power I have, whatever credibility I had, to call out this effort to resurrect really a new lost cause movement, which is false set of false narratives to undermine our history and our interpretation of our history and our experience in the United States of America. But even beyond that, what we should clearly understand is that in America today, there's a poisonous tree being planted. That poisonous tree has fruits on it. One fruit is voter suppression, gerrymandering, racial gerrymandering, Another fruit is anti-LGBTQ laws. Another fruit is the banning of books. Anti-HBCU legislation and moves. Silencing of voices, like we saw in Tennessee with the two brothers who were elected to the Tennessee legislature. And the fruit of anti-DE&I legislation. I call it a tree because it's been deliberately planted by people like Project 2025 effort. And this is what we have to understand: a deliberate, well-funded, well-orchestrated effort to reintroduce, or well, I shouldn't say reintroduce, to elevate the doctrine, the philosophy of white supremacy in America. We must understand that we are up against a funded, organized effort, which calls on us to be organized, as Reverend Al said, to be unapologetic in our advocacy, to show courage and conviction and understand what we are dealing with here. This Project 2025, which has had many, many antecedents to hijack the judicial system in America, to gerrymander legislatures and the Congress to hijack them as well, has a range of tentacles that are all over the place. The essence of it, I believe, and why undermining the right to vote, voter suppression, and democracy is the effort to impose in America a system of what I call American apartheid, which is a system where powerful interests who do not hold majority support in an elected sense are able to control the course of the country. This is what we're against. And we have to understand that this is no random movement, no organic movement, no spontaneous movement. This is a well-organized movement, which requires organization by us. And so you, Kim, I think are contributing greatly. And I'm looking forward to the rally tomorrow to continue to elevate and unite all our forces around something that is very basic. Freedom to learn is consistent with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Let's ground it in that on paper that we've been fighting to protect and extend. So I'm thankful to you, and we will continue to be aligned, to work, to use our resources and influence to the extent that we can to support this effort.
And Mark, you know, I love to tell people how far back we go. I know we didn't think back in those Boston days that this is what we would be dealing with, you know, we were
focusing on apartheid in South Africa.
Yeah. And now apartheid is back, you know, here. But thank you so much for your support, for your partnership. We look forward to hearing you tomorrow. Y'all get there early because Mark is early in the program. So don't come late and say, what happened to Mark? You know, you need to get there if you want to hear him. Melanie, you know, I know that you have been deeply involved in, you know, voter education, voter registration, activation. And we have been seeing that many of the same states and districts that are suppressing the right to vote are also the ones that are suppressing the right to read, the right to learn about our history. So what have you found that's gaining traction in the work that you do to underscore how this war on woke and the war on our political power are actually linked?
Well, first of all, I'm sitting here looking at two of my favorite people, Dr. Kim Crenshaw on the left and my brother from another mother, Mark Morial. So what it has done, it has brought us together in a time that is so needed. And so I want to thank you, as well as my colleagues have done, for staying the course and pushing through and making folks wake up to understand that that what's happening is not about theory, it's about power. And it's about the fact that Black people have been so audacious to own the power that we have, whether that's our voting power, our intellectual power, our economic power. And I think about 2008, it's really still when President Obama was elected, and it was a shocker for those who don't believe that this country should be an inclusive democracy. And it was no spontaneous, I heard Mark use that word. It wasn't something that just kind of popped up. It was very orchestrated when the Tea Party came about in 2008. And so you think, and then 2013, they said, okay, we got to change this up. They're owning that voting power too much. And this is not where we want to go. So then you have what? Shelby versus Holder. Bam. Let's and we've not really been able to gain collectively, systemically, those rights back to fully exercise our right to vote. And so when I think of freedom to learn, you know, I was like Mark, my mother helped put Black history in Florida schools. I'm a native Floridian. So there are some good things that come out of Florida. We're going through down there. And so when you think about the attack on, you know, I always have this campaign where we're talking about power to ballot. We won't be erased. So if you want to change what's happening, then you try to make it like people don't exist.
Yes.
You control folks' freedoms. You suppress women. You control their bodies, and you can look at other dictatorships or fascist countries. Folks are just using the playbook. In this country, and I truly believe there's some conferences that we're not invited to where they're thinking real deep about how to do that. You talked about the Project 2025 is a shining example. When people tell you what they're going to do, you best believe it. We have to believe them.
That's right.
Question we have to ask ourselves, since we built this country, what are we going to do to, as flawed as it may be, to make sure that we are able for our children to have an opportunity? Because what's happening now is freedom to learn. You don't want you to have that. Freedom to control your body. Don't want you to have that. Freedom to love who you want. Can't have that either. Go after Black and brown people. Divide the country. Do all these things. But our ancestors, you know, showed us what to do. And that is we have to continue to fight. Do what you're doing. I'm so excited about tomorrow. I'm ready to be out there with you. You know, I'll go to jail with you, but only because I'm working on a Maryland election. I can't go to jail with you tomorrow.
Okay. We'll have to make a date for that.
We got to be in Maryland.
Because you know, it's my birthday coming up this weekend. I'm not trying to be in jail, but afterwards.
Yeah, and so that's what I see. And so the connection to all of that, opportunities, the gains that we made, everything we talk about freedom, we gained all of these rights and freedoms, right? Yeah. And folks are like, we'll change the democracy, we'll change the structure, we'll do a whole different government, we're gonna dismantle the government because you want to have, and Reverend said it, white male domination and some white women who want to go along with it.
And deliver it.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we are going to be out there fighting and pushing through, working with you over the summer. We're going to be down south in June. So I'll make sure you were with us virtually. You were way somewhere. Somewhere south. So I'll send you information about that. And we're not going to. We will not be erased. We would not be erased. And
see that
fight together. Understand?
Right
we're not
there.
going back nowhere. Like you said at the beginning of this thing, we're not going nowhere. We're not going back nowhere. You're gonna have to put up with us, or we'll put up with you. But we're gonna fight and we're gonna win.
See, I see our listeners are liking that, Melanie. We ain't going nowhere. So thank you so much for your partnership. I want to lift up the work that you are doing. There's an ad that's coming out, right? Soon.
couple of things. Well, something I can't talk about since I'm in my C3 hat. So I got some things I can't talk about. But we
Okay.
So
voter education,
focusing on right.
telling people what they need to do, telling people what they need to know, and let them make the decisions accordingly.
And just don't let nobody take that vote away from me.
Don't let anyone take it away from us. If you know, I always was told by my mom, if someone wants something that you've got, you need to look at it again because they see the value in it that you may not. So that's what this effort to take our vote and our voice away from us is all about. We need to double down, protect, and defend. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Melanie.
See you in the morning.
Okay.
Hey, Congresswoman.
Congresswoman Presley. So I am so thrilled to have Representative Ayanna Presley of the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District to join us tonight since 2019. Thank you so much for joining us.
So good to be with you, Doctor. Always good to be. I know wherever you are, righteous work is happening. Righteous fights are being taken on, and we are on the path to justice.
And you are moving the needle in ways that it needs to be moved and in ways that many people don't. So I want to talk a little bit about your Book Saves Lives Act. Now, we've been saying every week that the majority of people, actually 71% of American voters, oppose book bans. We've also been saying that nearly 40% of the books that are being banned are written by people of color, LGBTQ people, or on topics of race and gender and sexuality. So there's a targeting going on, and that there's a majority that doesn't like book bans. But here's the thing that's been kind of hard for us to get across. A lot of people will join up and say, yeah, book bans are wrong, but they won't talk about the targeting. They won't talk about the damage that is done to Black and brown children. They won't talk about the fact that this is a targeted silencing. So tell us about how you've been thinking about this and how you've been framing this around, Brown's true legacy. I mean, tomorrow we're going to be marching in front of the Supreme Court, and we want to bring, that historical significance into our pushback against book bans. Your act is doing that as well. So tell us about it.
Sure. Well, first I'll just say that, I've been in Congress for 5 years now, and these have been some of the most consequential times, for our country these last 5 years. And, it seems unprecedented has been the word du jour, and I'm looking forward to some precedented times. But, we find ourselves in this this moment that is unprecedented, but for Black folks is in many ways all too familiar, almost in like a deeply ancestral way, right? Because we've been here before. We know that, book bans, keeping people from reading, from learning, from accessing information, this has long been a tool of oppression. And history is full of examples of how book bans were a key ingredient in certainly in advancing fascism. And so we find ourselves in this moment with Republicans in Congress and state legislatures, all working sort of as co-conspirators and accomplices in this. And it is a sobering reminder of the fact that gains are not guaranteed. Now, we know that because you don't have the gains of Reconstruction to see them undone by Jim Crow. You don't have the gains of reproductive rights and abortion access, to be undone by the Dobbs decision. Gains are not guaranteed. And that is why Coretta Scott King said that freedom is won and earned in every generation, because we don't have those gains in perpetuity. And this effort to ban books is really evidence that the freedom to learn, intellectual freedom is on the ballot. And I need people to sort of understand this Venn diagram of these so-called moms for liberty who are working, actively to repress and oppress our freedom, our intellectual freedom, a representation of diverse lived experience, of family models, how critical that is. When you think about, particularly with our young people, the rise in anxiety, depression, suicide ideation. And when you think of this Venn diagram of the states that have been the most vigorous in anti-Blackness, in voter suppression, in denying access to bodily autonomy and abortion access and healthcare, that have trafficked the most in anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and policies, book bans are right at the intersection of that. And that is why we wanted to take this on. And our legislation, now I've named it the Book Save Lives Act, because I know that to be true, Dr. Crenshaw. As a child, experiencing decades of intra-family sexual violence, as a survivor of campus sexual assault, when I first read Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, that was when I knew I was not alone in the world. So when I say that books save lives, I know this to be true because I know that book saved my own. And so what we're saying is that if libraries, if schools do not maintain a diverse representation of literature and authors, that it is a violation of your federal civil rights. So that is really the tenet of it.
Yes, yes. And so much of what you say is resonating. One of the first videos that we produced around the book bans was a video called Book Saves Lives. And people were reading from the books that saved their lives. And of course, there's a generation of people who point to I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And so that resonates with so many people. The thing that I love so much about what you've done in this bill is that you are classifying discriminatory book bans as violations of federal civil rights laws. That's the extra step. So there are a lot of people who are, we shouldn't ban books. Of course. But this is actually discriminatory.
Yes,
It's viewpoint discrimination, it's storyline, it's actually harming subgroups of our population that aren't being articulated. And we're leaving power on the table when we can't tell our parents and we can't tell children. We see what this damage is. And this is why this law would be so important to you.
Yeah.
What do people need to know to support? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to say that, because what we want to affirm is that this is not just some nice to have. This is your right to have. And I also want to understand, and I felt compelled to introduce this, not only as someone as a lover of language and words and literature and a voracious reader, but because I do believe we are very much still in the civil rights movement. And this is an attack on our civil rights. And I thought it important that I introduce this from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, representing the Massachusetts 7th, because I think people think in their Northeast exceptionalism that we are exempt from these threats. These book bans and these challenges, they are a threat to all of us. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, often regarded as a progressive blue state and a liberal leader in education equity, even in Massachusetts, libraries saw challenges to books quadruple in the last year. So that is why we introduced, and I'll tell a little bit more about that. I mean, even law enforcement was involved. I'll talk more about that, but that's why in Congress, I introduced the Book Save Lives Act. This would ensure that libraries offer diverse books and treat discriminatory bans, again, as violations of federal civil rights laws, so that we're being intentional about creating a future where every person is represented, is seen, can prosper. That means creating schools where every student is represented and can learn, and denying access to representative literature, as you say. And I don't think I'm an Aquarius, so I do tend to be dramatic, but I don't think it's dramatic to say, that it is harmful, it's dangerous, and it is discrimination. Last year, I just wanted to share this story because it surprises many, but last year, police were called to a regional middle school in Massachusetts to prevent students from reading a banned book. The police were called.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So that is what this moment has come to. Police being called to school to stop students from reading a book. And, again, with this anniversary and this inflection point, and you're bringing us all together, we thank you so much. But 70 years ago, with Brown, this decision that there couldn't be a functioning democracy where there existed a racist, segregated, and inequitable education system. So there's always been this
That's right.
interconnectedness with racial justice, education, and democracy.
Always. And that is why we're going to be celebrate 70 years ago. Right? But if you're not able to say what the continuing significance of that promise is, if you're not able to say Brown versus Board of Education wasn't about the fact that they took race into account, so the Black school kids and the white school kids were harmed in the same way. That's what they're trying to say Brown was about. Brown was about exactly what you said. We cannot have a functioning democracy with apartheid education. And that's exactly what these book bans are about. It's exactly what trying to defund public education is about. It's exactly what all of these attacks on knowledge are all about. So we're thrilled to support you in every way we possibly can in your crusade to make clear that this is our right, to make clear that it is attached to, it is an embodiment of Brown versus Board of Education, and we're not going to take a U-turn on it. We are not going to be the one that doesn't pass the baton on to the next generation in a better position than the one we received it in. So thank you so much, Congresswoman.
And I would just say, and I would just say that, as I was saying at the top, that it's an unprecedented moment, but in many ways, deeply familiar. And so there is a muscle that we've built in the face of this, because it is so familiar. And there is this direct connection between voter suppression and the suppression of literacy. So it's the same playbook. It's a new year, and in some ways a new day, but it's the same playbook. And it's just been sort of a progressive policy violence, if you will, starting with attacks on education with anti-CRT, and then stop woke laws, but it didn't end there. So now those same forces are co-conspirators and accomplices in the defunding of DEI,
yes,
targeting LGBT communities, overturning decades of civil rights laws, and then creating obstacles to voting, the disproportionate impact Black and Brown folks. So, all of these nefarious elements are working together.
They are. And it behooves us to work together, right? Because look, they couldn't get this far if they weren't coordinated, if they weren't strategically connected, if they weren't well-resourced. Even though they're not the majority, they are acting as though they have power, partly because we haven't yet changed the equation on the ground. But that's what we're starting to do, right? So tomorrow is about doing that work. That's one of the reasons why we say to everybody, you can come to the march in DC or New York, but most people aren't going to be able to come to a march, but you can do something. You can do something and stand up and be counted. So it's one of the reasons why we're driving people to take up certain activities. One is to join one of the letter to the editor campaigns against book bans from our Right to Learn partner, every library. You can get more information about that in the chat. You can also join the American Library Association's Unite Against Book Ban Action Campaign. It's starting tomorrow on our Freedom to Learn Day of Action. And you can sign up. There is a sign up link in the chat. And you can support Congresswoman Presley's bill. Please write your congressperson and tell them how you feel about the attack on our knowledge, on our books, and our attack on our children. So join all of us in saying thank you to Congresswoman Presley. Is there anything we need to know in order to target our efforts to support this bill?
Well, again, I just want to thank you, Dr. Crenshaw, for your leadership, and I would follow you to any physical or virtual space, know that. And thank you for being so precise and instructive with varying access points as a call to action. And I would just add on that congressional piece, not only express to your member of Congress or your United States Senator how you feel about this issue, but please do also ask them to sign on, because at any one period in time, there could be 12,000 pieces of active legislation. And so your member, despite our earnest efforts, might not be aware of the legislation. So please do let them know this matters to you, and gently insist that they become a co-sponsor.
I love that. Gently insist, y'all. You heard that. Gently insist. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I look forward to being in touch.
Thank you, family. Take good care.
All right. So it is time for some Artivism. Who's ready for it? I know I am. So I'm going to call to the stage AAPF artist in residence, Gina Loring, to share some artistic inspiration for us as we head into May 3rd. Gina?
Good evening. Good evening. So this poem is called Somewhere There Is a Poem. Somewhere there is a poem. Somewhere coiled around my love, but somber like the breeze on a cloudy day, on the edge of sound. Within the crevice between rationale and emotion, huddled beneath the sound of laughter is a poem. And I want to write this poem. I want to speak this poem. I want to feel this poem. I want to experience this poem. Cradle it in my arms, feed it a good meal, and send it on its merry way. I want to sing this poem. Amen. Grace, sweet the sound. Somewhere there's a poem screaming, get up, stand up for your rights. Human beings being so caught up in the tangible material surface so that they never actually feel. Their touch is liquid and grazes right through, but misses the core. This poem whispers to me and rocks me to sleep and tells me stories of indigenous people diseased and tricked and slaughtered and made to be extinct. But this ain't no pterodactyl or Tyrannosaurus Rex blood flowing through my veins. I am Muskogee Creek First Nations. I exist. I am African. I am an old Jewish woman muttering prayers in Yiddish as my name is replaced with a number on my arm. I'm a little Palestinian girl staring in horror as my home is bombed and burnt to the ground. I was born in India, but not to the right caste. So regardless of what I accomplish, I will always be a peasant. I died in Mexico, 3 feet from the border, gunned down by evil troops who shoot for a living, who sacrifice their souls for the man-made boundaries of these Americas. Somewhere there is a poem. Somewhere dozing in subway stations and flying high on the 405 and taking the L to Brooklyn and the 15 to Vegas and the MARTA through Atlanta and cruising down a dark street in Oakland is a poem. This poem comes from somewhere deep, somewhere where the angels sleep, where pixies dance and mermaids weep, where hymns are hummed so God will keep us all in mind on Judgment Day. This poem warns but does not sway. For what you do is up to you. Where you go and who you know, if you close up or if you grow. Somewhere there is a poem about the insanity, the derangement, the audacity, the utter barbarity of war, Hiroshima, Hiroshima, hero, hero, war, hero, harrow, harrow, heroin is crack, cocaine is the systematic genocide of my people. Brown skin behind bars, locked up behind bars, trapped behind bars, enslaved behind bars, kept in line behind bars, counted behind bars, bars, there are more bars. Selling alcohol on a single reservation in Oklahoma, then in all of Ventura County, counting me in because I'm down for the revolution, which may not be televised and may not get radio play, but it will be told through poetry because somewhere there is a poem. This poem speaks to me and draws me in like an amusement park to a kid. I want to speak this poem and dream this poem and share it with y'all. Hold up. Shh. I just did. Thank you.
Gina, as always, so powerful. The talent, the message, you actually sang for us tonight. So thank you for that. Really, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, folks. That's a beautiful reminder that art and artivism are inseparable. As we move towards our National Day of Action tomorrow, we're looking for all the art, all the creativity, all of it to be put on the table. And on that note, very quick commercial. If you haven't done this yet, please fill out our sign-up sheet that's being dropped right now in the chat. Let us know what you have planned. Additionally, if you don't have anything planned, take one small action, like dropping off a banned book at a local barbershop, a coffee shop, a beauty parlor. Take a photo of yourself and the folks there and share it. I love when folks give a young kid a book, put it over their face. Don't show their face, show them reading the book, and go ahead and post that. If you're on social media, use hashtag Freedom to Learn or hashtag Freedom Summer 2024. Our social media toolkit is also being dropped in the chat. Now, if social media isn't for you, you can email us at info@freedomtolearn.net. And lastly, please don't forget to fill out our post-activation sign-up sheet so we can learn more about how your activation went on May 3rd. We're so excited for you. If you fill out that form, you will receive our amazing Freedom to Learn tote bag. Yes, we have more swag. Lastly, I'm going to host office hours right at the close of the program to answer any questions you may have. So join me there if you're interested. I'm going to toss it back now to Professor Crenshaw.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you so much. You keep the energy going. I don't know how you do it, but thank you so much. And Gina, always just magnificent. Thank you so much. So this is a perfect segue to our next segment, Mobilizing Communities. I'm delighted to welcome Damon Hewitt, who serves as the President and Executive Director of Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Reverend Siobhan Arline Bradley, who serves as the President and CEO of National Council on Negro Women, and Reverend Adam Taylor, who is the President of Sojourners, a faith-based social and racial justice organization focusing on media and advocacy. And boy, do we need that. I'm going to start with you. So first of all, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. It's great to see you all. Damon.
Yes.
You have been in the trenches across so many different issues, but in particular, since we sustained that devastating loss in Student for Fair Admissions. Now, I know there's some people here who think there's the attack on affirmative action, there's the attack on DEI, there's the attack on woke, there's the attack on CRT, there's the attack on Black history, but they're all just separate, unfortunate occurrences. So help us hear how you help people see the connections between all of these things, because we know that we can sometimes miss the forest for the trees, and that would be to our detriment.
Exactly. These are not separate corners. These are the same room. In fact, people should know that the same person who financed the attack on race conscious admissions, affirmative action, and higher ed, also financed the attack on the Voting Rights Act and got at the heart of the Voting Rights Act. Ed Blum, who created the organization, made it up. Students for Fair Admission said, I have to go find Asians. He wanted to try to drive a wedge between and among people. Stephen Miller, who created his own organization, attacking all of the DEI and race conscious interventions and contracting and opportunity in that realm. He's the same architect in the Trump administration of that retrogressive immigration strategy, right? So these people are all very connected, and it goes back many, many years. What I say to people, though, is that really it's not just about individual bad actors, it's about the narratives that they spin. They spin the narratives about teaching the truth is somehow indoctrination. They spin a narrative that we don't actually belong in these institutions, that we're asking for something we don't deserve, and that we're taking something away from other people, specifically white people. Now, we have many white allies who know that's not the truth, and there's many other people of color who understand that it's the opposite that's happening. We're being deprived of opportunities that we actually deserve, the future that we in fact deserve. So it's really, the connectivity here is the narrative of exclusion, the narrative of non-inclusivity, the narrative of zero lack of diversity. That's what the narrative is all about.
Yeah. And, you know, there is the reality that for a lot of our stakeholders, the failure to see the connection made it easier in the first, kind of rounds of this for the attack to do more harm. Because a lot of people said, oh, that's about DEI. That's not about me. That's about CRT. That's not about me. That's about 1619. That's not about me. And what they weren't seeing was that it was about the whole racial justice infrastructure. It's about the whole post-60s social justice infrastructure. They're going after the whole thing of it. The whole thing. So you guys have been pursuing litigation as a way of fighting back, among other things. And we want to be about lifting up all these things during this Freedom Summer 2024. So what do people need to know about the work that you all are doing, how you are embracing this idea of Freedom Summer 2024, and and what's in store?
Sure. Well, our mission at the Lawyers Committee is to make sure that Black people have the voice, the opportunity, and the power to make sure that the promises of democracy are real. And democracy doesn't just mean elections. It's everything in this American enterprise, everything in this political project, right? And so that's why in the cases we're litigating in Oklahoma and also in Arkansas, where DEI, CRT, and just frankly, truthful curriculum, period, is being banned, there's a chilling effect. In Oklahoma, teachers are afraid that they can't teach about the Tulsa Race Massacre, what happened to Black people, or the Trail of Tears. And we just had a hearing yesterday in Arkansas in the federal court facing a Trump appointee in a federal district court, where he asked tough questions of our side and both sides, frankly. But the case is all about teachers and students, including a teacher at Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, who is worried that they can't teach truthful curriculum. They even tried to ban the AP African American Studies curriculum, which itself has had some challenges, right? So, what we're doing is we are using First and 14th Amendment theories. The 14th Amendment is equal protection because they are targeting Black and LGBTQ plus curriculum and facts. They don't want those facts taught in the schools. But we're also leveraging the First Amendment because we believe that teachers should have the freedom to teach, and students should have what? The freedom to learn. The name of the campaign, right? And so we have to make both the 14th work for us once again, and the First Amendment work for us as well. It cannot just be about certain interests, separation of church and state and what have you. It has to be a First Amendment that gives us freedom of expression, which is freedom of self-determination as African people.
And we were just talking to Congresswoman Presley about her bill that actually creates a civil rights protection against targeted discriminatory censorship. So, we know the anti-censorship campaign and, the collaboration among all of us who are doing this work is broad. There's also the reality that for some of us, we are deeply concerned about the 14th Amendment is important. And we are clearly saying that the right to speak and the right to learn is all protected by the First Amendment. And we are also saying that this discrimination in what is getting banned and what is being censored is also a distinct harm that needs to be articulated. And I think nothing, expresses that more than the fact that, you have one of the school systems that was involved in Brown versus Board of Education being one of the parties in this case. In fact, last week we had one of the students, Sadie Bell Reynolds last week, and she was amazing and marvelous. Everybody needs to hear her because what she is able to bring forward is the fact that as a white student, she's not harmed by this. She would be harmed if she didn't have it. We can't hear that enough. We need to hear it more, that there are harms to all our children in the whitewashing of particular aspects of our history. So the freedom to learn includes everybody. And includes all of our stories. So thank you, Damon, so much for lifting that up. Folks, Damon is going to be joining us tomorrow in Washington, D.C. at the Freedom to Learn rally in front of the Supreme Court. So I know you want to hear more of him. Make sure that if you're in the region, you come by and help make it clear that we won't go back. Siobhan, let me come to you for a moment. You lit us up last week when you took us to church. People are still talking about it. So that makes this a perfect opportunity to talk about Freedom Sundays throughout the summer. So I want to just ask you, as a spiritual leader, what is it in our tradition, the connection between our faith tradition and our demands for equity and human rights that we can lift up into our society at this time of crisis, at this time where, the forces against these ideas of inclusion and equity seem to be on the rise? What can we offer up as sustenance, as foundation, as practice that can sustain us in this moment?
Well, first, my sister, I'm another hotel room, but I would not miss this tonight. I was just so glad to be on the road. And shout out to all the NCNW sisters. I see y'all in the chat room.
They are here. They are here.
Purple Pride and Purple Rush is in the house. So I'm so proud of the sisters. Let me just offer this idea of sustenance. I have been really wrestling with this. Because what is most difficult in many faith traditions is when you face trial. Yeah. And trials are the times when in many cases, particularly in our traditions, faith traditions, we have been taught that even in the storms, even when it rains, that God is still in control, right? That is still a part of what we know to be true in terms of deity. But, it gets hard sometimes when you're seeing. I had an opportunity to speak on a panel this week, and I talked about this tsunami, if you will, of intentionally offensive plans to remove not only it's not just about history, but really change the way of life of our country by rolling back rights. And it is very important for those of us that understand the role of faith and justice, is that most faith institutions, particularly in the Black tradition, were started because of similar tsunamis. My pastor, Howard John Wesley, I shared that before. I did something called Seminary Saturday, and one of the conversations we talked about was how the Black church's roots was even entrenched in being brought out of and born out of white supremacist context. And so how do we use the history of Black faith traditions to help organize us now? So when we don't like what we see, when we're clear that there is intentional plans to remove rights, then how does the faith tradition utilize not only scripture, but also the practicality of organizing and informing inside of those houses? The church, there's a myth. My faith leaders that are on the line, those that are dealing with faith leaders, it is not that you cannot engage in civic engagement and protest. That is not true. It's a false pretense. Separation of church and state does not mean you cannot be politically astute and civically engaged. It does call for you not to
Right.
abandon partisanship, but it is, but
Yes.
but the faith tradition, and if we are who we say we are, requires you to address the social needs of your congregations. And so what we're looking at now, I think about it, NCNW, of course, we all know is an organization of organizations where we have faith leaders that are a part of our institutions. Shout out to the AME Church. I see you online. I see folks that have logged in that have said they are here. To the Divine Nine, many founded on Christian principles, to many faith traditions across the country. We are saying you have absolutely an obligation in your faith tradition to see a wrong and make it right. And that's what we can do as a faith community, and quite frankly, as a human community in this country.
Seeing a wrong and making it right. There's no reason why. There's no constitutional, requirement that we not embrace what we see as right to make it right. There is nothing that precludes that. Reverend Taylor, let me come to you for a moment. The Black church, as we've just been talking about, has always foregrounded the link between racial justice, education, and democracy. And it has also been seen as one of the few institutions that we have control over. But one of the things that was mentioned to me, and we talked about it with Reverend Arline Bradley last week, it was raised with me by Freddie Haynes. And we were talking about this when a lot of the seminaries, the white seminaries, were the ones that kind of started this assault on critical race theory, on racial justice, on anti-wokeness. And my feeling was like, well, who cares? And then he pointed out to me, that there aren't a lot of Black seminaries. People who go to seminary often go to these institutions. So even our churches may be impacted if we don't have a forward orientation to these ideas and to a spiritual tradition that doesn't avoid racial injustice, but embraces the need to address it. So tell me how the work that you do is shaped by some of these values, and what work is necessary to be done to protect the freedom to learn.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, it's an honor to be with all of you. I want to thank the Freedom to Learn Coalition. Dr. Crenshaw, you've been a real fearless champion in all of this work. Reverend Siobhan, shout out to you and to Damon, who's a close partner in a lot of the work that we do together to try to ensure that we can mobilize faith leaders to be on the front lines of not only defending our democracy, but transforming it. I think it's important to kind of go back, as we have in this conversation tonight, to the beginnings of our history, to understand the ways in which, in so many ways, tragically, the Christian faith has been misused and abused and hijacked to prop up the very project of white supremacy. Sadly, we can go back to the slave Bible that literally took out all of the references to justice-oriented and liberation-oriented text, literally created a Bible full of holes that was used by slave owners to then justify the institution of slavery. And so we know from the origins of our country that Christianity has been twisted and distorted to justify and perpetuate white supremacy. And yet through our own Black church tradition, that liberation tradition, it has been one of the most powerful forces to help to liberate us and to dismantle white supremacy. And so there's the power of faith to both be a weapon and a wedge, but also to be a source of liberation and of truth-telling. We know how Black churches have so often stood in the gap to provide not only education to fill in the gaps that have not been taught in our history, but also to be a real powerful force for liberation. Fast forward to more present day times, and it's important to kind of emphasize that the modern day religious right movement that has kind of morphed into what I would describe as a Christian nationalist movement started as a political deal between a operative in the Republican Party named Paul Weyrich and Jerry Falwell Sr. They made a political deal to try to create a political movement that was not based on opposition to abortion, at least initially. That's kind of the misnomer. It was created as a movement in opposition to the desegregation of Christian colleges and campuses, including Bob Jones University, because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So the religious right had deeply racist roots, and as that has kind of mutated over time, and now we have a Christian nationalist movement, a white Christian nationalist movement, which is a real heretical movement in the context of the Christian faith, that's practicing theological malpractice by trying to wrap the cross in an American flag and make the argument that the kind of true Christians or the true Americans are white Christians and are really trying to push that agenda forward. And so I think that we have to, be really bold with reclaiming the truths within our faith. I'll just, close quickly by quoting Jesus, certainly fitting for a reverend to do. Jesus said that we shall know the truth, and the truth will set us free. And we know that all of these efforts to whitewash and erase and censor our history are an effort to keep us captive to lies, to half-truths and to mistruths. The obligation of truth-telling is a faith imperative, and we have to do that much more boldly. And I really believe that the vast majority of Christians from all racial backgrounds do not believe in the kind of white Christian nationalist heresy, but we've got to be bolder in pushing back. The last thing I'll just mention really quickly, the connection between protecting our democracy and the work of racial justice and opposing book bans and all the rest is absolutely essential. We are involved in a campaign called Face United to Save Democracy that is mobilizing faith leaders of all backgrounds and from all faith traditions, but it's rooted in the leadership of the Black church. And we've centered this campaign in the core belief of Imago Dei, that every person is made in the image and likeness of God. And by framing it that way, we're trying to really provide a kind of theological argument and imperative for this work. And so, this is what's kind of animating a lot of our efforts to not only protect the freedom to vote, but also to, over time, transform our democracy itself.
Well, thank you so much for lifting up the need to tell the truth and also being able to name white Christian nationalism. I know a lot of people to name that, but if we can't name it, we will not be able to analyze how it distorts the messages, how it undermines our ability to fight back. And I love the idea of, sort of wrapping the cross in the American flag. That is effectively, what it is. So we will be working further with you and with other clergy throughout the summer to lift up messages in the faith traditions, in multiple faith traditions that are all about humanity, human rights, and inclusion. Reverend Arline Bradley, let me let you have the final word. Tell us what NCNW is doing over the course of this summer under the Freedom to Learn, under this moment of Freedom Summer 2024, because I know you're all over the place and I know that your members are, strong and proud and loud. So tell us what y'all gonna be doing.
I love it. Well, we've actually already started not only supporting the homeroom weekends, but we just finished out our first iteration of Purple Days in the Districts. Shout out to HR 6592, the Fight Book Bans Act. Our members across the country have just rallied around this piece of legislation, have gone to over 700 Black women in over 32 states, have gone to their congressional leaders around this particular piece of legislation. In addition, for Freedom to Learn, we are asking all of our sections to do two things. One, support all the Freedom to Learn activity. Every member has received their updated toolkit. Tomorrow, you're going to see some members there. I won't physically be there, but I'll be doing my thing in the background and members will be showing up. But please know, we are working on now building out our civics program, not only an 8-state, all-state strategy, where we're looking at connecting Freedom to Learn work to voter registration, but also engaging Civics 101 with students to be able to not only learn from banned books, but also learn the basics of civics to help build together our plans for young people to have an obligation to not only vote, but also come back to the civil rights space and begin to advance on the ground and mobilize. The pictures you see are from the Freedom to Learn action we had last year. So 1 year ago, we were there together working. That's our chair of the board. The Divine Nine was together. We had past chairs there. We had Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes, my brother Damon was there with me, Sister Mel. So we had the full gamut, the NAACP. NCNW is here front and center, ready to work, not only bringing the faith tradition together. So it's C-suites to the streets, but also as young people. We are pushing this game for young people as well. So excited to support this work. And this is just the beginning of a long-term strategy.
I can't thank you enough for your leadership and just your inspiration. It's just an honor to work with you, Siobhan, and Damon. Always a pleasure to be with you. And Reverend Taylor, you are new to us, but you are family now. We so look forward to working with you over the course of the summer. And Damon, I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Also, Reverend Taylor, see you all tomorrow. So look, guys, I'm going to just lift up a couple of quick things. There's a worksheet that's being dropped in the chat from our Parent Majority on Anti-Blackness in Schools toolkit. Here's an activity. You can create a video or a testimonial about the harms that you or your child have experienced through educational censorship. Look, it's really important for us to be able to tell the counter story. This whole attempt to ban our stories and ban our histories, how did it become part of the news? Because Moms for Liberty and a bunch of organizations sort of made up these stories and had parents marching into school boards across the country and created viral videos of people crying about the horrible things that are happening to their kids. In the meantime, our kids are being misinformed. They're not being exposed to the kind of history and literature that makes them whole. So we need to tell our stories. We need to gear up to fight for our children. So that's an activity that you can do. Email us your letter or post it on social media. So now, I am thrilled to welcome Representative Jamie Raskin for Maryland's 8th Congressional District to the conversation. Jamie, it's so great to see you.
It is great to see you, Kimberly. Thank you for having me. What a wonderful conversation.
Oh, it's been wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's get into it because, you know, we've been talking about the book bans. We've been talking about the assault on democracy.
Can I say something about the book bans?
Yeah, please come with it.
Just to show you how extreme things have gotten, I wrote a book back in 1999, that's 25 years ago, about the rights of students in public schools called We the Students. And it was sponsored by the Supreme Court Historical Society. So this is a book that was sponsored by the Supreme Court, in essence, through its Historical Society. It's been banned in Texas.
Oh my God.
They banned a book
God.
sponsored by the Supreme Court. And then to give you the icing on the cake, that was on a Wednesday, I think. The next day on Thursday, Vladimir Putin banned me for life from going to Russia for my pro-Ukrainian activity. I got banned by Texas and Russia in the same week.
The same week. It doesn't get any better than that. It does not get any better than that. Well, you know, obviously that is a story that brings together all of the different echoes, all of the different dynamics that are playing out in our democracy. And one of the things we've been struggling with over the course of the last few years that we've been doing this work is bringing the communities together so they can see how the attacks on multiracial inclusive democracy and an attack on some of the basic values are kind of one and the same. And of course, I followed every word that you said and wrote in the context of the January 6th investigation and hearings. And in particular, I noted when you said Trump and his accomplices made common cause with extremist groups steeped in racism and hell-bent on insurrection. Yet this nexus that you clearly articulated, any of us who have a sense of history saw it. Anyone who was concerned about why that flag was marching through the Capitol understood it. The whole frame of taking the country back. Well, we knew that what that was code word for, right? But it's been a challenge to consistently be able to show how racialized fear-mongering and demonization has undermined or I guess underwritten the slide away from democracy. So in the work that you've been doing and what you see as being, essential to be able to make that connection and make it legible for our voters, what do you think has traction?
I think that I love the context that you give the struggle we're in, because it is obviously a full-blown frontal assault basically on the 20th century, on the civil rights movement, on the women's movement, the LGBTQ movement, the New Deal, the Great Society. Basically, all the civilizing movements of the last century are under attack. But I would take it further. I would say that democracy and freedom, equal rights, are under attack all over the world. And but I don't want to compromise anybody's 501c3 status or anything. I don't quite know exactly where you guys are with all that. But I will just say that the forces that are attacking the 20th century, in America today, including the former president, who they've rallied around, are in league with Putin in Russia and Orban in Hungary and El-Sisi in Egypt and Erdogan in Turkey and Xi in China and Netanyahu in Israel and Marcos in the Philippines. All of the dictators and the autocrats, the kleptocrats, the plutocrats, the strongmen have found each other all over the world. They have found a common ideological faith in the attack on wokeism, which has a mutating character, but we know what the basic core of it is. It's the idea of bringing democracy and liberalism together and expanding the meaning of democracy to bring everybody in, right? And that's what they hate the most. And it's under worldwide attack, And I don't mean to put that much pressure on everybody. I mean, I'm thrilled to learn of your Freedom Summer 2024. I've got a project called Democracy Summer, which is for direct involvement in elections for young people. But this is it. I mean, if ever you wanted to devote a year of your life to your country and to democracy and freedom, don't wait to 2039 or 2051 or something. This is the year to do it, because everything's on the line.
Everything. I've been telling people that this feels to me like the election of 1876. People were playing not just for the next election, they were playing for the next century. The consequences of that, extended well into the 1960s. So we may be in a similar period right now. One of the things that we've talked about consistently, Jamie, has been, the Project 2025 that really tries to change the rules of the entire game, right? It's sort of game over if Project 2025 gets put into place. So tell us in our last couple minutes, because we want to get people all riled up for tomorrow. Tell us about the legislation and how people can press their representatives to get involved in the fight against book bans.
Well, my friend Maxwell Frost from Florida, he's got legislation to actually make federal money available to localities that are trying to defend open libraries and the freedom of speech and the freedom to read. But I mean, basically, we don't need much more legislation than that. We've got the legislation. It's called the First Amendment, and we just need to be defending the First Amendment all over the country, as we try and defeat the book banners and the book burners. The old expression that whoever starts by banning books ends up whoever starts by burning books ends up burning authors. I mean, we know exactly, where they're going with that. So, I mean, it's a defense of liberal democracy. I mean, in Hungary, they've got what they call illiberal democracy, basically elections without rights. You put a majority in control, and then you extinguish the rights of the press, the right to speak. Like Putin, you jail the opposition, like he got rid of Navalny. That's where it's going. So, some people say that, well, the question of books and schools, it's, that's not the bread and butter of where people live, but it really is. I mean, it really gets to the core of whether we're going to be a free democracy or not. And I like what I overheard you say before about the attack on DEI and critical race theory and so on. It's like the Martin Niemöller quote. Well, first they came after DEI, and then they came after critical race theory, and then they came after native son, and then they came after sex education. But at the end, they're just coming after education. They're trying to demolish critical thinking skills and people's ability to have books as weapons of intellectual self-defense against authoritarianism in the country. So just like you're saying, it's a war on the whole thing. We got to defend the whole thing. We got to defend the democracy.
Well, you couldn't have said it better. We keep saying they're coming after all of it. And one of the challenges is to get people to recognize that this thing that we're worried about, it doesn't just happen over there, some other place. It can happen here. It's in the process of happening here. People need to reject this American exceptionalism as though, first of all, it's never happened here because, that's what redemption was. And second of all, we're moving into a terrain of absolute, autocracy if we're not careful. So thank you for being on the front lines. Every time I see you, I think, okay, someone is speaking truth to power. But more importantly, we need somebody to wake up, folks, who don't think that these are the bread and butter issues. If you don't have a democracy, it doesn't matter how well your economy is doing. You got to wake up and protect our right to actually live in the country that we've inherited. So thank you so much.
And I will add only, our economy does a lot better when we've got a real democracy, because if you've got the autocrats, they're not interested in the welfare of the vast majority of the people, So this is the year when we get to beat the plutocrats and the theocrats and the kleptocrats and everybody who would try to undermine our democracy. Thank you for everything you do, Kim Crenshaw, and the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jamie Raskin. Okay, so I am going to pass it over to Kay for our quick activation segment. What is it that it said? It's our young people who will set us free. It's our young people who are going to lead us into our future. And so we're delighted to have this moment to sit with them. So, Kay?
Thank you so much, Professor Crenshaw. It has been an evening, folks. I do want to take a moment because we have a student joining us from Morgan State University, Talia Baptiste. She joined us last year, and so she's helping us now to organize. So I'm just delighted to welcome Talia back up to the stage to have an opportunity to talk with me about what she has been doing, getting folks ready for tomorrow. Hi, Talia, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing well. So today on the campus of Morgan State University, you put together an ice cream rally to get people to sign up. Can you just share some of the details of what you've been doing? Everything. Thank you for that. Of what you have planned for tomorrow. Like, what is the goal here for Morgan State University students?
Yes, thank you for having me today. So yes, the ice cream social was very successful today. With college students, as long as everything's free, it's really easy to get people to stop by. So yeah, we're super excited. We got a bunch of signups. We're super excited to get down to DC tomorrow. On the bus, we usually practice like some activation chants and things like that to really get people excited, especially since it's so early in the morning. Once again, college students, early in the morning is a bit iffy with us. But so we're super excited to get down there. We're also excited to meet other students, other people from other organizations, and just really learn and really rally for the freedom to learn.
Thank you so much. I also know, and I want to lift up that tomorrow you're also going to be checking in with WEAA 88.9 FM. They're going live at 10 a.m. So Talia is going to be calling back into the station, letting folks know on the ground what is happening and how they can continue to be involved. Thank you so much for your work last year and just reminding us that the young people are standing up and standing with us in our Freedom to Learn campaign. Thank you, Talia.
Thank you.
One final reminder, folks, for tonight. I want to ask, if you haven't done so yet, I want to keep reminding you, fill out our sign-up sheet. It's coming in the chat now. Let us know what you have planned. Don't forget, take photos and videos tomorrow of whatever action you take, large or small, and share it. If you're on social media, post it using our hashtag Freedom to Learn or hashtag Freedom Summer 2024. Our activation spotlight is just get involved, get activated, and do everything you can to be a part of this moment. Don't forget, at the end of all of this, I am having office hours. To join me, just click the 3 dots at the bottom of your screen and then join me. I'm going to now toss it right over to Tim Wise for White Lives Matter. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Do you just want me to get started, or am I going to talk to Kim, or what are we doing?
I'm gonna go. Well, to me, I'm thinking you just need to go ahead and drop the mic. Go ahead and get started, Tim.
I feel like whenever we do this, I feel like the comedian Louis Black, and I used to toss to him on the Daily Show, and he would just rant for like 5 minutes. And I'm always happy to do that. But I hate to just.
I love your rants, and I love making it seem like, ooh, I asked him that, and look what he. So okay, here we go, Tim. So the last few weeks, you've really been helping us break down white lies, and the pun is intended. In the fight for racial justice, equity, democracy. So we're heading into the National Day of Action tomorrow, Freedom Summer for the next several months, all in advance of the big activity in November. So what is the one big lie you want to help take down tonight?
Well, there are a lot of them to choose from, and it can be hard to know which one is the biggest. But what I want to focus on tonight is important, because it's the kind of lie that if we don't confront it, it can really immobilize us with fear and uncertainty. So it's the lie the other side often tells, right? Which that they are the silent majority. It's a lie they started telling back in the 60s to contrast themselves with those who were mobilizing in opposition to the Vietnam War or fighting for racial and economic justice, right? They accused activists then, just as they do now, of being a loud but tiny minority faction of malcontents while they were the so-called real Americans, right? And we hear the same thing today. So as somebody mentioned earlier this evening, a few people did, when they scream about parental rights to control school curricula and insist that they are standing up for American parents, they paper over the fact that really they only seem to care about the loudest and most reactionary white and Christian parents, rather than the majority of parents who do want their children to learn accurate history and be free to read and learn what they choose. When they condemn, frankly, the current student protesters who are mobilizing for a ceasefire in the Israeli assault on Gaza, they ignore that most Americans who are polled support a ceasefire. So they aren't the majority, we are. They are in the distinct minority, and they believe in minority rule. That is why they openly advocate making it harder for people to vote by limiting early voting, because they know that folks of color and low-income folks and working class folks and students are more likely to use that particular mechanism for voting. It's why they want to ban mail-in voting, even though there's no evidence of meaningful voter fraud from voting by mail. They want fewer people to participate in democracy because they fundamentally believe, and reactionaries always have, that the better people ought to make the rules. And to them, the better people, and I'm putting that obviously in quotes, are white and they're male and they're Christian and they're straight and they're wealthy. But we are the majority. And we really need to start acting like it if we're going to win.
Tim, thank you, as always, for making something plain, for reminding us that, white lives matter, but the truth matters even more. So thank you so much. So folks, look, we've had a full day today. We are all getting ready for tomorrow. We've heard from some of the leaders of our major civil rights organizations, our spiritual leaders, our students, but we have to go out with an uplifting message. And I know nobody better who can do that than my friend and my mentor, Barbara Online. Barbara, you still with us? Uh-oh. So now you guys have to just imagine the amazing, wonderful thing that Barbara would have said. There she is. Hey, Barbara.
Just took a minute to unmute and unpost all the rest of it. Okay, I'm here.
Because I was like, you know what? I can do many things, but I cannot do Barbara Arnwine. Let me tell you.
Yes, you can. You
I cannot do Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, when I was thinking about the last thought I wanted to leave people with, I was thinking about a conversation we had at one point, and you said, look, the key thing is you have to believe that we can win.
Absolutely.
Too many people do not believe that we can win. So as we step into this National Day of Action and Freedom Summer 2024, leave us with a message that helps us stay motivated and remember that we can win.
Well, first of all, we want to thank you and APF and everyone who put this together for an incredible night. We've been to church. I mean, we've been to college, we've been to school, we've been to courts, we've been everywhere fighting. And I have had a great night. And I know so many others because you've enriched us. Look at all these resources, people. Where do you ever do a webinar with that many resources directed to us for our further education and advocacy? I mean, this is just brilliant. I have loved the chat. Thank you, everybody. The chat's been on fire, and they've been saying all kind of stuff like justice is, quoting from Cornel West, like justice is love in public. Paula Sproul got out there and said, burn racism and hate, not our books. That we had people, people were saying, let's fight for it. People were saying, let's manage our dollars. People were saying, we are winning, we are winning, we are winning. And I just want to remind people that, all the things that you put into tonight, let's move that forward to others. Let's take the spirit. People said that tonight has been like soul food, food to their souls, that they've been fed. And I love it when they're feeding their souls and not the beast, right? Mark talked about that tree, but actually he's describing that hydra-headed beast that we know that we want to, starve it so that it goes away, called white supremacy and all of its manifestations. But what I want everyone to think about, the reason why all of this is happening is because our vision is winning. When they saw Obama elected, the first women, the first people in office in Congress who were openly LGBTQIA, when they saw, all the, many more women coming into office, when they saw people who cared about gun control and all that being elected at the same time, when they saw the Confederate monument, take it down movement, being so strong when they saw the George Floyd, the Black Lives Matters movement, with all the millions of people who turned up and turned out and were trying to be real allies, or beginning to understand white supremacy at a very deep and deeper level than they ever had been exposed to it. When they saw intersectionality taken off as a concept, critical race theory, women's studies, anti-racism as concepts that people were embracing and understanding, when they saw women exerting our freedom, when they saw all of this, guess what it did, folks? We all know what it did. It scared them to death. They lost their little minds. And because they lost their little minds, they came up with all this stuff, including the white replacement theory and all of this. But what they keep forgetting, every time they come up with all these assaults on everything in the world, they forget about us. They forget about who we are deep down in our souls, that Harriet's down in our souls, that Frederick Douglass is down in our souls, that Cesar Chavez is down in our souls, that Fred Korematsu is down in our souls. They don't understand us. They don't know that we will never, ever, ever sit back and take this because that's not who we are. That's not who our ancestors were. That's not who our future is. I mean, they're trying to ban TikTok because they're afraid of Gen Alpha and all these young people who are, really speaking out about the future. And I'm telling you, it doesn't sound like the white supremacy stuff. And what do we need to do to move forward? Keep believing in ourselves, keep manifesting our vision of what a true, just, and inclusive democracy, multiracial democracy must look like. Don't ever back down. I mean, it's our vision that has to come into power. We got to, invest in our youth, vote, help definitely help the Black elderly. If you haven't focused on that, a lot of this voter suppression hurts the Black elderly. Get my 72 forms of voter suppression at tjcoalition.org. Make sure that you build coalitions. I mean, think about it, folks. Voter suppression, in fact, voter suppression is rampant in our country. But if you really believed in reproductive rights, you would fight voter suppression with every ability in your body, because in Ohio in 2023, 84% of all Blacks who voted for reproductive rights. That's what people are missing, because we know our women are dying. We know what it means when we don't have access to reproductive care. So we understand all these issues, and they don't want us to do it. So connect the issues. Do everything you can to advocate for the passage of the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and the Native American Voting Rights Act. Make sure that you join us on July 17th for the John Lewis Candlelight Vigils that we'll be doing all around the country. If you can get 10 people together, we happy. You can get 1,000 like we've done in the past, we happy. We just happy when you are on the move, because it's when we're on the move that change happens. So Kim, to everybody listening, our vision must win. Our multi-democracy must come into vision, into reality. We will fight for it. We will win, because there is no other option. They are trying to fight to win, but they can't. We have this in us. Thank you so much, Kim, for your genius. Thank you so much for your courage, your sacrifice. Thanks to everybody who spoke tonight, everybody who's going to participate tomorrow. I'm going to be in Dothan, Alabama, down in Little Dothan.
Lifting up
Hey,
Freedom to Learn.
We already been talking about how we're going to do the Freedom to Learn during the dinner tomorrow for the Extraordinary Ordinary People's Society. So, we're going to talk about restoring the vote, but we're going to talk about the Freedom to Learn. So we are a real movement. This is definitely on fire. Keep this fire in your souls, people. Let it burn. Let it burn.
Let it burn. So there you have it, people. Barbara Arnwine, our closer extraordinaire. I hope everybody has been filled with words of inspiration tonight. Those who want to get more comms tips, You can get it this week by email. Just drop your information in the chat. If you have any last minute questions about activations tomorrow, then click the 3 dots at the bottom of your screen under the heading More. And once you click on that, an option for joining the breakout room with Kay, who will talk about activations, will come up. So please click breakout rooms to enter the room to attend her office hours. We'll have Kay there and other staff to answer any of your questions about your activations tomorrow. And importantly, how to make sure that whatever you do is seen. So yes, we want to activate you, but equally importantly, we want the country to be activated by the light that we're collectively going to shine on the freedom to learn. So I can't wait to see some of you in person in DC, but I really can't wait to see all of the things that you all are doing. So email, call, tweet, show us what you're doing. Show us that you're part of this journey, Freedom to Learn. Show us that you're with us for Freedom Summer 2024. Good night, everyone.
All right.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.